Welcome, everyone. I'm Jim Fox. I'm a product manager for Remote.it for AWS, and I'm going to be your host and walk you through the product, show you what you can do with it, and demonstrate how you can overcome the challenges of self-managing access to AWS. So let me ask you the question. Are you tired of self-managing your engineering team's access to AWS? And does it seem like you're always updating IP access lists, security groups, and VPN settings just to give your own team access? Well, if you are tired of it, it's probably because you're using some of these common tools and techniques. And even though these methods have been around a long time and everybody uses them, it's still way too hard to manage cloud access for a distributed workforce that's now working from home or from anywhere, really. There's just too much manual work involved in managing access this way. So if any of this sounds like you, let us show you a better way to give everyone on your team access to services at AWS without having to deal with these manual setup and maintenance tasks. Here's what you could be doing instead. This is Remote.it. It's a desktop app for your local machine that makes it easy to make connections and manage access to your AWS environment for you and your team. When you need to connect from your desktop to a resource at AWS, just open the Remote.it app, sign in, and right away you'll see a list of Remote.it instances at AWS that you've set up to give access to services hosted in your Amazon account. So this is a Remote.it instance right inside AWS. I'm going to click into that, and you can see all the services that are available through that Remote.it instance. For example, here's a LAMP server, has an Apache web server on it. I can click into that and make that connection. That's all I have to do to launch a connection. Create connection and launch. And now I can see this private website inside AWS. This could be a private web app or a private intranet site for my team. Just click and connect. Now here's where it gets really interesting. If I'm an acting admin and I need to grant access and revoke access to different users on my team, all I need to do is use the concept of sharing in the Remote.it app. So I would click share, enter the email address or select it from a list, and select the service I want to share and save it off. Now, the next time that new user signs into their Remote.it app, they'll have access to that service. Notice the AWS instance shows up in their account now. And if they click in, they'll get access to just that one service, not the 10 or more that are actually available, but only the one that's been shared with them. So now they can make the same connection I just made and launch that internal private website. So it's very easy to onboard someone to your AWS environment with Remote.it. And all this is available today. Remote.it is already in the AWS marketplace. So everything I'm showing or demonstrating, you can do today as well in your own AWS environment. So let's take a closer look what's going on here. There's really two parts to this. Here I have the Remote.it desktop app for my local machine. This is a free app you can download from our website, and it's available for Mac, Windows, or Debian Linux. And I also need a second piece to this. I launched a Remote.it AMI instance from the marketplace into our target Amazon VPC, and then I configured it to make these connections to any service. And then I'm able to share them out to different team members who need access. And all of this setup can be done in 15 minutes or less. So if I'm the system admin or acting admin, I can give each of my users access to some or all of these services. So for example, when I have to onboard a new user, let me just enlarge this a little bit. If I need to onboard a new user and need to give access, I'll just click share, choose an email address or type a new one in, and then I'll just select an individual service to make that available, as we just saw. Now, the next time this user logs in, they'll have access to one service in that AWS environment, and they can log in and connect there themselves. So I have full control to grant access at the individual service level. Try doing that with a VPN, right? A VPN will give your user access to an entire network segment. So once they're in, they can reach almost anything on the network. And since not trusting the network implicitly is one of the principles of zero trust security, in that way, remote.it is compatible with that industry direction. Notice I didn't make any changes to my AWS security groups, no IP access list changes, no change to VPN settings or profiles. I just selected the service I wanted to share and click share. And now if my user takes their laptop out and about and changes location, I don't have to do anything, even if their IP address changes. Now, if I have another user, let's say who needs access to multiple services, I can select their email, select more than one, and grant that access. And now the next time they log in, they'll see these 4 and can connect to these 4, but not the entire list. So that's a great way to make individual services available to specific users. And then, of course, if I have a user who needs access to everything, I can, in one click, select or deselect all the services. So next time they log in, they'll have access to everything. Now, let me show you what to do when a user no longer needs access. When it's time to unshare access. All we need to do is go back to this view and see right here where it says shared users. I'm going to go ahead and click in there. And now I have a list of all the users that have received access to those services through this AWS instance. So if I want to remove access, I can just click on that user. I can individually deselect different services, or I can just simply remove that user altogether from all access. So it's very easy to onboard and offboard, if you will, users into the AWS environment. Now, if I remove a user, even if they still have the key pair or credentials, they won't be able to connect because once the share is removed, there's no routable path to that service over the internet. Remember, these are private resources inside an AWS private subnet, so they're not available through a public IP, and they can only be reached through remote.it. And that keeps your AWS environment secure and visible to port scanners, so the internet, it's not reachable from the internet, and it's safe from common attacks that target public IP addresses. Now, let's say you have a user. I'm going to show you device list sharing, what that's all about. Let's say you have a user who needs access to everything in this environment, everything from this instance, but also any new services or new instances we add in the future. So if I add a new instance, maybe in a different VPC or region or availability zone, or I add new services in the future, I don't want to have to remember to manually go back in and share new services with every new user. So I'll use a device list share, which is right here in the settings. These are all users who've already received a device list share, and I can remove them if I want. But to add a new user, just click add. And like we saw before, enter an email address, add them, and now they'll have access to everything in this instance, plus any new services or new devices we add in the future. So I don't have to remember to go back in and manually share a new service or a new device with my users. So that's a very convenient and powerful feature. You can grant full access to current and future devices. Let me also show you the custom launch commands in remote.it. If I go to the connections tab here and just choose any connection, see these fields right here, launch URL, copy command. These are editable strings that you can edit and customize. So if I want to customize this to launch into a full path, maybe I know whenever I make this connection, I want to go to a specific page, say on a private web server. I can enter that, save it, and now every time I launch this connection, it will go to the full path. Automatically, I'll land on the page I want to be on. I can also put a plugin extension here and automatically launch any plugin I need at my destination page. So that's very convenient. And if I share that connection, it will also share the extension. One other thing I'd like to show you is the connection logs. A lot of customers need traceability for audit and so forth. So on remote.it, you can see a connection log right here for every service, every device. Just click over here, device logs. This will give you a time-stamped history of all the activity in this environment. So I can see every user that's connected and disconnected. I can see the shares that have been made. I can see devices coming online and offline, services coming online and offline. So it's everything you really need to keep an eye on the activity in this environment. It's also downloadable as a CSV for offline filtering or search. So that's a very convenient feature. A lot of customers need that ability to look at logs. So let's talk about what our users are saying about remote.it. This is an actual marketplace review from a paid subscriber, and they find remote.it for AWS to be an essential tool for managing access to their services in their VPC, especially with people working from home. They've been able to onboard new people and using remote.it and don't even need to create an AWS account. Just share the services through remote.it and they'll get to the services they need. So they've taken full advantage of sharing, granting access amongst their team, and using the custom launch command also. They added a plugin launch, so whenever they're connecting to the Kibana web interface in front of Elasticsearch, they can automatically launch that plugin. So we're very happy to see their comments here in the marketplace. In terms of licensing, we offer a 30-day free trial to get you started. You can try remote.it for yourself. If you like it, you can convert to a monthly paid subscription at a very reasonable price. And the pricing is based on the number of services configured. So you can launch as many AMIs as you like. If we go back for a second, pricing is based on the number of services or connections you configure. You can have as many AMIs as you want. You might need more than one in different VPCs or different regions, availability zones, and so forth. But you only pay remote.it for the services configured. And you can see that pricing. This is on the marketplace. Starts at $1 a service per month if you only have a few, but as little as 25 cents a month per service if you have as many as 250 is very reasonable to provide access to your team that way through sharing and protect your instances from open ports. So I know I've just given you a quick overview. There's more to show, of course, but I hope you've seen how easy it can be to set up access to your AWS environment and use sharing to grant your team permission to connect. You could share an entire VPC using the device list share or just a single service to any group of users or individual user. So onboarding new AWS users has really never been easier, and they won't even need an AWS account. After they create a remote.it account with their email address, and you just share the target resources. So when people leave the project, you can unshare access. And even if they still have the key files or credentials, they won't be able to connect. So because there's no open port on the internet to give access to those resources. We didn't even talk about it much, but remote.it does not rely on open ports on a public IP address. So it's more secure than today's typical configurations that still use open ports We think the only open port at AWS should be for your public website. Everything else can be completely locked down and hidden from the internet, but fully reachable for your authorized users through remote.it. So if you want to give yourself and your users a better experience, go ahead and try it. You can try it for yourself. We made it simple to self-install, and we even offer that 30-day free trial to get you started. You can visit the AWS Marketplace, search for remote.it, and you really don't have to change anything you're doing now. You can just self-install remote.it in parallel and see which approach works best for you. And we'll send out a link to all this, but to get started, there's really these 4 steps. Download the remote.it desktop app. That's the app I've been using all along here to show the feature set. Then you'll launch a remote.it AMI from the marketplace into your AWS environment, configure some services, and then you'll be able to connect, share access, customize the launch URLs, and see the log activity. Support is always available at support.remote.it, very quick to respond. You can also sign up for a one-on-one consultation if you like. We'll do that for free. Anyone who's attending the webinar, just reach out to me directly, or we have a link where you can schedule a time as well. So with that, let me open it up for any questions you might have out there about remote.it and remote.it for AWS.
Jim, we do have one question. What's the difference between remote.it and a VPN?
Yeah, it is similar in the sense that they're both a way to connect to an AWS environment of services, but really coexist is no problem. You can run an open VPN or VPN connection over a remote connection. The reason you might like to do that is it will eliminate the open port at the VPN server into your environment and make that invisible to port scanners and any kind of attack, which we're hearing about more and more attacks on VPN servers every day. So that's a good practice to eliminate that open port. The other advantage of remote.it is it won't open up an entire network segment. When you connect with a VPN, you're really on that internal network inside AWS. And so with remote.it, you can just give access to a single service, like we showed, a single SSH or a single web service, and not allow users to see the entire network inside your Amazon VPC. So I think those are probably the 2 biggest advantage.
Jim, there's another question. Do I have to use AWS in order to use remote.it?
No, you don't have to use AWS as your target. I mean, remote.it is available for a lot of different platforms. A lot of customers use remote.it to connect to embedded devices in the field that might have cellular connectivity and don't have a stable public IP address or any public IP address. Embedded equipment, telecom equipment, factory equipment. The ability to connect into devices in private networks is kind of universal. And so a lot of remote.it customers use remote.it for that purpose as well. Most of our users got started with that on either Raspberry Pi, OpenWRT, other NVIDIA Jetson, a lot of different platforms we offer packages for.
Jim, if someone wants to get started with remote.it for AWS, does remote.it provide any assistance to set up on AWS?
Yes, absolutely. We love to help out users. We do that every day. You can arrange for that kind of support through support@remote.it through an email. And you can also email me directly, Jim@remote.it. We'd be happy to do a free consultation, get on a Zoom with you together and walk you through the process. It shouldn't take more than 15 minutes of your time, and we can get you set up with connections into AWS or your AWS environment pretty quickly. So we'd be happy to do that. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate your time and we'll hope to hear from you soon.